Hi everyone, and welcome back to another video in the TNL Tips video series. Today we're looking here at some issues inside of Canvas. Specifically, I want to go over the two areas where you will adjust course dates inside of Canvas. If you're watching this video in fall 2021, I did a previous video where I talked about we were trying to get our systems to sync up behind the scenes, behind Canvas, the area outside of my control on Canvas, such that we would have the correct term dates. What happened in the fall of 2021 is the Caldor fires caused us to shift our dates from the original start date of September 13th, the Monday, to the 20th. So the good news is, if you're watching this in fall 2021, that has been done. So Bill and the folks in IT worked this out, and they did it through the colleague system. So now when you log onto your class, you should see the correct start dates. And I'm going to show you, though, some ways that you can make this adjustment on your own as well. So there are different scenarios out there where if you're teaching a late start class or you're teaching a short-term class, where your class will not follow the same set of dates as what's set up in the term. So I set the term dates up in here, and we do that also in Colleague, and then that establishes for the college for the fall 2021 what the dates are. But you can go in and do some customization. This is particularly nice if you want students to have options of viewing your class a little bit after the term ends, or even a little bit before, if you want them to have that option to log on and get familiar with things and so forth. So you have the ability to go in and do some level of customization. The thing I'll talk about is you have to do this in two places. It's very important that you do it in the course settings and also in the course sections tab. So let me start with my class, and I'll also talk about cross-listed classes and some options there, just what you might have questions about, as I commonly hear in the couple cases where we have some folks doing a cross-listed class. If you're watching this video and it's not fall 2021, then it's also going to be helpful. I mentioned this though because we had some very unique issues in the fall of 2021 with the Caldor fires that caused us to change and do some shifts, and it's required a little bit of work behind the scenes at the institutional technological level to get things set up. There's a lot of things that pump into Canvas information from other data systems that we, myself as a Canvas admin or the new DE coordinator, do not have control over. Even the administration doesn't have control over this. It happens kind of at the level of IT and to some extent student services. So there's a lot of collaboration that goes on behind the scenes to get these systems to work, particularly if there's a date shift like this. And I can't recall this happening before. We've had situations where we had to move finals up, but this was kind of a big adjustment to figure out. But let me show you how to do this in your class. So I'm going to my class and I'm going to click on the home screen, scroll to the bottom under settings. At that point, I want to just continue to scroll down, and in the middle of the screen under the default course details tab, I will see the dates here. So this is where, if you wanted to, you could make some decisions about when to start and stop the class, particularly if you want to extend this. You wouldn't want the class to end, of course, before the normal date. And just to point out, regardless of whether you're changing this or not, again, the institution will set this up and it's default, and you don't have to ever make this adjustment. But you'll note here that it's grayed out. So the institution has decided that students cannot view the course after the end date. Concerns are present about inaccuracy. What if you took information out of the class and then students were looking at stuff and were confused? So we don't allow that. You can decide whether you want students to view before the course date or not. So if you have that checked or unchecked, that is the determination of that. You can also then go in and adjust the start date. Now, I have to say on this, if you try to do something like the 11th, I think it might come up with an error. Let's see if it does when I hit save. Okay, it didn't in this particular case. I've seen it happen sometimes that if you change this and you get it out of range, then Canvas doesn't seem to like that. So doesn't seem to be an issue here, at least when I'm doing the update on the course dates. So that is one area where you can go in and look at your dates. So I would just recommend, start by going into here and making sure you like these settings, making sure you want this to be viewable or not viewable before the course start date. Keep in mind, if your class is unpublished, students can't view it regardless of what these dates are. So in all likelihood, you don't have to do a lot of work here. If you have a variable term class, the key thing would maybe be to look at the end date to make sure that the end date matches when your class actually ends. It's hard for me to talk about this because there's a lot of classes out there that will start a month later than other classes or end a month earlier because they're shorter classes. So you kind of have to look at that on your own. If you have questions, you could always reach out. Now, the second place to look at would be under sections. And if you have more than one section, like if you have a cross-listed class, this could be listing more than one. When I click on this, I'm going to blur some names because names will start to appear below this area. So you can see here, it tells me when the class is running. If I want to update this, again, I have to do it in these two places. I would hit the edit section and change the same things here. So this is just an acknowledgement that you could have situations like at bigger universities where you have multiple sections of a class, one main lecture and multiple sections. So you could see multiple sections listed and you can make adjustments of those dates. I think we don't do as much of this at the college. Now, one exception is if you look at a class like ECE 102, that's cross-listed with Psychology 102. So if I click on that class, I'm going to see two sections. What we always do for instructors that have the same class that meet together is we do a cross-list. And if you need your class cross-listed, let me know, reach out. So in this particular case, since the two sections are essentially combined into one, and we don't differentiate between students who are in the ECE 102 and the Psych 102, it wouldn't make sense to have different dates for each of those sections. If we go back to this menu, we have the option to edit these, but why would we have one different than the other? So you're really not going to make an adjustment probably at this level doing different things with two sections. Again, I'm thinking of bigger universities where they run multiple sections and the sections meet at different times and maybe they end at different times or start at different times. That might be why you would want to make some adjustments. So you may not have to do much to this, if at all. So if you have questions, you can always reach out. Again, if you do want to change these dates or restrict students from viewing the class before the start date, if your class is published, of course, then you would want to click on those two areas I listed. One is your settings menu, course details. Look at your dates here, look at this checkbox here, and then second is click on sections, click on this, hit edit, and make your adjustments there. So probably not a lot that you really have to do, but if you want to go in and tweak, it's always a good idea to make sure that those dates are consistent. The start date, start time, end date, end time match up with what is listed in your settings. So it's a good thing to go in and check if you have a few minutes to do that. So that will be it today here looking at this issue in Canvas. If you have other questions, please reach out and don't hesitate to ask those of me and I'll try to get back to you.